Welcome to your review of Outlook 2013. This is a user level, mostly a review of how to use this product. I have a standard install here with not much customization to it. It's tied to my Outlook. I'm going to walk through the environment. We're going to start with just an overview of how to go around in the environment, and then we're going to get into mail, then calendars, then contacts or people, then task notes, folders, etc. So generally speaking, you have a ribbon bar across the top here. If it hides on you, it's this little button over here. And if you just go to view or any of these items, it'll pull the ribbon bar down and you can pin it back in place. To the left here, we have a navigation bar of whatever section you've selected. So in this case, I'm currently looking at mail. You can also shrink that down with the arrow there to save yourself some real estate. One of the things I'm not showing here is the message view. Let me just go ahead and we want to change the reading pane to, I'll put it on the bottom for now so you can see how that looks. And this is where you get part of the message to read it. So this section deals with whatever major category you've selected here on the bottom on the navigation down here. We can choose from mail, calendar, people, task notes, folders, and shortcuts. This bar has a navigation option where you can show more or less of that, and if I hit OK, it'll show less. You can also go to a compact view, which will just give you 4 icons here, and the rest you have to click here to get into. And a lot of people like this view because it doesn't take as much space. I'm going to leave it on the larger view for this demonstration, and I'm going to show all my items so I don't have to navigate to it. And you just click on the different sections here and it takes you to the contacts and then to the tasks, etc. So we're going to start with the mail section here when we go through the detailed sections one by one. We'll start with that one. Down the very bottom here you have item lists, whether you're online and connected to Exchange and the folders are up to date, or if it's sending and receiving. You've got some view options here as far as zoom on whatever you have selected. Currently, this is going to affect this view, this reading pane. And you've got the ability to turn off and on certain parts of the screen as well. So we can zoom all the way out. You can see how small everything gets. Let me go back to put this up to normal view, which is 100%. I can also go here and just switch it to 100% and we'll be fine. I'm going to actually turn off, I'm not a big fan of this preview screen because it kind of gets in the way. If I want to email, I'm going to open it. So what I'll go is the view menu and I'll just turn it off. The reading pane, we turn it off. And I'll hit OK. Oops, reading pane off. I must have hit options. So I just have my list. So you get the navigation down here, you got the status at the very bottom, you got your navigation on the left, you got your ribbon on the top, and at the very top you have 2 more toolbars, the tabs here, and then the quick action toolbar. Any function that you see can be added to the quick access toolbar. Now it's up here, so no matter where you are, you can always, well not that one, but you can always, for example, this was folder pane, so you can always get to whatever that option is. So if you use one a lot, you can add it there. I'm going to remove it. Another way to add them up here is to right click here, regular click here, and select what you want, or if it's not on the list, search for more commands, and it has them all in here. These are popular commands, and these are all commands, or you can get categorization of commands here, and you can add them, and they will appear up on this toolbar. The tab bar is going to change depending on what you're viewing, what you've selected down here. So in the mail section we have home, send and receive, folder, and view. The file menu brings you to a more generic properties of a particular item that you happen to be in. If you're in an open email, if I open this up, the file menu is going to contain something different than if you're in the main Outlook program. So it's all going to be different. So you got to kind of investigate what's going to be there. The help is up here. That pretty much is where everybody expects it to be. and you have your view options up here. The File menu on Outlook, on the main Outlook, this is where your accounts are set up. You can have more than one accounts. You can set up automatic replies for out of office here. If I go into that, for example, I'm actually offline, so I can't go in there, but I could turn it to I'm out of office, put a message in, and let it respond to people. There's some cleanup tools here I don't particularly like to use. I like to do mine manually. And then manage rules. We're going to see this when we get into sending emails, but this is where we can do emails and alerts and rules to move stuff around. Other options, open and export. If you had another Outlook data file, maybe an offline file that you are, like a PST that you are going to want to open, maybe it has some old email in it, you can do that. Save print is specific to whatever you have open. Your Office account, this will tie to your online Office and your activation of this product. The options is really the general options for the entire program. And most of this is program-wide. Example, in the mail section, you can change your default format. I don't want my default format of my email going out to be HTML. I want it to be plain text. So you have some of those options in here for all the major sections. You also got add-ins. These are things that are plugged into your Outlook. For example, I have my Avast antivirus plugin. If I start to have problems with Avast, I can actually disable that. And I can actually view disabled items by selecting that and hitting go. And I can see the items that have been disabled. And you have a Trust Center. The Trust Center section gets more into what do you want to permit this application to do. For the most part, that's going to be set up fairly well for you. That's the general navigation of Outlook, how to get in, how to get out. We can close out of the application with an exit here. And if we have any problems with those Trust Center or the tied-in items, we can always hold a Shift key when we open it, and it should open with all those items disabled. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go through the mail section. The mail section is where we store email. You're looking at it now. You would click on mail down here. If you had more than one email box, and I'm going to shrink this with a little chevron there, this is one account. So if you had more than one account, you might see another one here with other inboxes, sent items, drafts, whatever folders you made under it. Here I have some additional subfolders underneath, and you can create those folders fairly easily. So we're navigating our folder system. If I highlight the inbox, I will get to view the inbox from here. If I want to put a folder in there, you go to folder, and you can make a new folder here. And I will say Holy Family. And we'll put it right under the inbox. It's where I want it to be. And I'll hit OK. And then I get a folder for storing mail. Same is true if you want to delete it, copy it, or remove it. We'll actually save that folder for later. I'll show you how to make a rule to put stuff in that folder. So I'm going to go back to the home for the email section. And we're going to go through this toolbar, and we're going to talk a little bit about the emails. I'm going to put and click on the inbox here. Your ribbon bar along the top, basically, all the ribbons can be customized. What you would do is you would right-click and customize the ribbon. Okay, this is the quick access. This is the ribbon. If I customize the ribbon, the ones that they created, they typically don't want you to modify. So for example, new. They want these items in there. So we're not going to be able to add anything into this section or this group. What I can do is on the Home tab, under the new section, I can see what's there, and I really can't modify it. What I can do is go into the Home and create a new group, and we're going to call this, let me right-click and rename it and call it Tim. And you can give it a symbol if you want. I'm not going to give it a symbol. I'm just going to hit OK. And we have a group called Tim. And then under here, I want to add a command. Now, here are the popular commands. I can hit the drop down and say, commands not in my current ribbon. Maybe I want to add about to it. And under all commands, macros, I could add a macro if I wrote one. Under all commands, I could find exactly the function I want, which would be included here somewhere if you knew what you're looking for. And let's say I am going to add Visual Basic. I don't know. I'm just adding something. So I'm going to hit OK. And now you'll see my new tool, my ribbon bar grouping here. And I've added it to the Home tab, so that's where it will show up. It won't show up on the other tabs. To get rid of it, I right-click, I customize the ribbon, and you can remove individual items, or you can remove the whole group, and it goes away. In there, you can customize, you can export and import these customizations as well, however you see fit. So going across the ribbon now, we're going to start with the home. We can generate new emails from here. That's pretty straightforward. But I want to go through a new email. So I generated a new email, and I'm going to shrink it down a little bit to make it a little bit smaller. And we have a file, message, insert, options, format, text, and review. So in the message, we can type our message, we can address it. You hit the 2. We have multiple address books, depending on your setup, what you'll have. Global means the users that are part of your system and have user accounts there. For example, I wouldn't have a user account on your system. I would be more likely in your contacts. And then depending on your setup, there may be some additional groups that you can email to. So I'm going to leave that as is. I'm going to point it to my contacts here. And I'm going to search for a name. Petrosky. There he is. It's my brother. I'm going to carbon it to him. I'm going to look for my other brother. He's probably not going to show up here because he's not under that name. Let's find Mr. Lynch. And I will take this address and I will carbon copy him so I can use the buttons there. There's some advanced fine features. We're going to get into those, not in this video, so this is more basic. I'm going to hit OK. So you can address in that way, and that's pretty common sense and probably intuitive to everyone. You also have your standard formatting options when you get in here, so you can format stuff and customize stuff. Now, because my default format is HTML, you can see it up here. And I can do that sort of stuff, customize, change the fonts and stuff like that, copy and paste. Bullets, numbers, indents. The address book here, you can actually pop open there if you like, rather than through these buttons. Attaching a file, if you attach a file, you just click and find your file. Attach an item means you want to attach something. For example, if you want to send someone a business card, an item from your calendar, or another Outlook item, and you can actually find the item and attach it to it, which is pretty cool. There's a couple places you're going to see that pop up. You can put a follow-up request flag to it, so this kind of marks it in your list over here so that you can see when you need to follow up on it. Pretty much that's about all. Under the insert, we have a couple items. You can also attach those type of items here. You can insert a table, standard Microsoft Office stuff, pictures, online shapes, etc. They have some smart art in here. A hyperlink, if you want. A bookmark. Some text boxes, and this is all that stuff that comes out of things like Word and Excel. Options here. You can create themes or colorization for your environment. You can change your page color if you'd like. Not a big fan, but okay, I'll do it. You can set permissions on here. Now, the permissions is for right management servers. Those have to be set up, meaning a person wouldn't be able to open this email unless they had the rights management assigned to them. So if you don't have that set up, that might not be applied. You can use voting buttons and do customs. So I'm going to say, yes, no, maybe. And I'm going to say, did the typing appear red? I'm not going to send this to 500 people. Now I'm going to actually not send it to these guys because I get really confused as to what I'm doing. I'll send it to myself so you can see what that looks like. Sample email, voting. So you can do cute little things like that. You can request a delivery receipt and a read receipt. I'll just do the delivery receipt so you can see what that looks like. You can have sent items sent to either the default sent item folder, or you can push this into another folder. For example, in the sent items, you have a subfolder that you want all Tim Petrosky's emails that you sent him to go into. You can delay delivery. So if you want to pretend that you were working all night, you can actually set the time and that it actually sends this email. So what we're going to do is go on to format text. This one I'm not going to really cover, but it is basically the common formatting. You can change the format of the email right here. You also have review and standard Word and Office tools like Thesaurus and Dictionary, etc. One other thing that you can do here, let's see. I am going to stretch this out a little bit because I want to see a little bit more, and it's hiding some stuff on us. So in here, I don't have a signature. So the first time you get in here, you might want to make a signature. So open a new email, and it's easy. Just click Signature and Signatures. And we can create some new signatures. So what I'm going to do is say New. I'm going to call this Tim Petrosky, PT Engineer. And once I create it, I can now make it down here. I can copy and paste from Word. I can design it off the web. I can put pictures in here, whatever you want. I'm just going to put a sample. Okay, so we have a nice little formatted here. You can colorize it. You can do all sorts of stuff with it, add links, hyperlinks. I'm going to create a new one. Of course, I'm going to save that one. By the way, when I save that one, it's going to save 3 formats, a text only, a rich text, and an HTML. So depending on what format you decide to change this email to, it has a sample to use. The next one I'm going to call Tim Home. And we'll go to that one, and I'll just put something super simple in there. Okay, and we'll save that one as well. So we have 2 different signatures. And I left a little space here, so every time I insert it, it's going to give me a little room to get started. Now, new messages, I want to start with my PT Engineer, replies and forwards PT Engineer, and the email account. And if I had more than one account, I could actually select it and assign different signatures to different accounts. So I'm going to hit OK. And I'm going to go ahead and send this one, but this one doesn't have a signature in it because I started it before I made my signature. So you can always insert it right from here, and it'll pop the signature in there. So I'm going to go ahead and send this one. Now I'm going to make a new email, and you'll see that it already starts with a signature. If I want to change it, you can actually right-click the signature and switch it there to the other one. So you don't have to go up and monkey with signatures. You can find the signature section and just right-click it. It's kind of helpful to be able to do that, but you see how that works. So for the most part, that covers all of the new message options except for file. So file, we have some other properties we can do under here. For example, properties. This will get us into some of the other sections. Digital rights management's in here as well as permissions. Options here really clips you to the general Outlook options, but takes you to the mail section. So that's not particularly significant to this one email. It's significant to your entire Outlook install. I'm going to close this one, not save it, but I do want to show you how those other ones came in. So here was the, here was the delivery receipt. So we got a delivery receipt. Here is, if you do read receipts, not the person who receives it's going to get prompted, do you want to answer their read receipt? And some people will say no. I find a delivery receipt's pretty accurate because when your server successfully delivers it, whether it gets through their spam filter or not, we'll never know, but we know that our server successfully passed it off to the correct server. So here is the voting button as I received it. So it looks like from here, Tim Petrosky is sending me a red message, and he wants me to the typing appear red. Of course, Tim forgot his question mark, so I will reply to that. But I'm going to vote and say, yes, it did. And I will edit the response before sending it, and I will say, yes, but you forgot a question mark. I'll end that with an appropriate exclamation mark, and I'll send that. So this is what the voting thing does. It's actually kind of a neat little thing. When you get an email, you have a couple new buttons here. You see reply, reply all. This is all common stuff. You can do things like folders and attachments, send this email to a meeting, which would open a meeting and paste the email in as the content. What I found kind of cool was the quick steps. These are programmatic ways of doing things. For example, reply and delete would mean send a reply and delete this email all in one button. If you want to make your own, you could choose one. If you click this little icon down here to manage, you can see reply and delete. Reply replies to the email and then deletes the message. And you can make your own buttons here for quick steps. So let's say that you always duplicate a copy into a folder, delete the original email, reply to the email, and carbon copy. You can put that all as one button so that you could hit it. You can move the email somewhere. You can generate rules on the email. Again, we're going to do rules in a minute here. Mark it unread, categorize, and follow up. So mark unread is self-explanatory. Categorize, you can actually create your own categories and flag this email. And I'm going to flag this email as the purple category. And it'll put a purple mark against it, and it shows up here in the background. And then we're going to create a rule to kind of sort some of these to group them together. I'll show you how to do that. The follow-up would be more of a time marker. It's this red flag. And the closer it gets to today, the darker the flag gets. So you can actually sort your views by flag so you know which things you have to handle and reply to or take care of. All right. Another nice thing about this is if you want to move, and you're reading right here, you can see the gray line in the background to the next email. I can hit the up arrow, and it simply moves me to that email, or the down arrow to move back again. So I want to mark this one, I think, as the same category, because I'm going to use that later on. I can also, if I'm going to close this, highlight a few emails and hit category and mark them at the same time. So I'm going to put a couple of those in there to show you how to create a rule to sort. So that's generating your new emails. Okay, we have a few more things to look at in this screen. Some of these toolbars are identical to the ones you just saw. We have a send and receive where you can actually say, hey, I want to send and receive my email now. I'm not seeing a new email I should see. This gets a little more technical into managing the send receive groups. So I can tell it to go ahead and pull the address book down from the server now so that's updated because the IT department just made a new entry and I want to make sure I have the latest. Usually that happens automatically. Your send and receive groups, typically you don't want to mess with this. It doesn't really take 30 minutes to send your email. This is more for pop emails and old emails. But if I hit edit on this, you'll see that some of these folders here are not clicked or enabled. Okay. So what happens is this connection is an Outlook Anywhere, which is actually updating all these folders all the time. And if I got to work offline, which is this button, I should have access to everything that my computer downloaded. Other things you can see here is show progress if you want to see it. I have it clicked don't show this because I don't want to see this every time I send and receive. I can see down here if I'm sending and receive. So if I do a send and receive all, this will actually show me sending, receiving, and what it's doing. You can see that going. I can cancel all here. I can download headers, which means just download the emails so I can see this information, but I can't actually open the emails. When I double click it, it'll download the rest of the email and show it to me. In the folder section, this is mainly for processing folders and creations and stuff like that. There's a section up here called the favorites. So for example, if this Archdiocese folder was something I go to often and I have a lot of folders, I can click it and say show in favorites, and then it's going to be up here so I can click it and get to it real easy. It does only show me the one folder though. If I needed to see an advocate for survey folder, I would actually have to click that one as well. And then if you want to take them off, you can actually just highlight them and get rid of them. So it is a single folder view in your favorites. Let's see here. One of the things I can do here that you may or may not be able to do with Gmail or Google Mail is I can set permissions. For example, I can go to that advocacy group and I could go to folder permissions and I can say I want to give, let's say, Cardinal Regali. I'm going to give him the permission level of reviewer. And that means they can read everything, they can write to nothing, the folder is visible, but they can delete no items. You know what? I want him to be able to edit items that he wrote. So I'm going to click that and it'll go to custom, meaning I've modified this from the default template. But this is how you set people's permissions. So if you have a person who's a supervisor and somebody that works for them, and the supervisor would like access to their folders, at least from a reviewer perspective, I can always make them a reviewer. If you have a collaborative type of environment where we're both using a particular folder, I can make you an owner, a publishing editor, or an editor. So that just tweaks what you can do, what you can delete, what you can read and create, etc. I'm going to cancel that. I don't really want the cardinal into my email. So I will take a look up here at the other things we haven't done. I'm going to come to the rules in a minute. Folder properties really is where you get into the name of the folder. What do you want the number next to it to show? So I can say show the total number of items and hit OK, and I'll get a number. There's 193 items there. But if I go to folder properties, I usually want it to show me the number of unread items, and I can do that. You can also push this and it'll calculate the folder size. Currently I'm not online, so it's not going to process that folder. Auto archive, typically I don't like using that, but we'll not cover auto archive in this particular lesson. The permissions there, the synchronizations there as well. So going back to my inbox, there is basically one more thing we want to do, which is to talk about some of the rules. So, and how we set up rules to process our email. We still also have view. So let's cover both of those items in the view and the rules. So we'll start with the view. Now this view is a message preview, means I get the to, from, and a little bit about the message. I don't really like that, so I'm going to switch this to off and this folder only, and then I can get the more to, from type of data. Okay, if you want to resize these, you can by dragging, and you can drag things and you can stretch them open. We can also add columns here by right-clicking and saying field chooser, and then we can drag items to it. For example, recipient name I can put right there, and then I get the recipient name. Now they're all to me, so I don't really want that field. So if you want to remove a field or a column, if you want to rearrange where it is, just drag it to another section. I want to remove it, so I'll right-click and I will do remove this column. The view is kind of important because we want to sort all these colored category items to the top, and I want them listed by newest to old. And then I want all the uncategorized stuff sorted as well. So what I'm going to do is we're going to change the view, and rather than pick one of their pre-configured, I'm going to say manage view, and we're going to make a new view, and it's going to be called Tim's sample view. And we're going to use the set up a table view, all mail and post items, and I'll hit OK. And we're going to say what columns are there. We'll leave those as is, group by, and I want them grouped by the colorization, which is called the category. So I'm going to say group by category, and I happen to know colors are last, so I'm going to say descending. I believe that'll put these to the top. We'll see in a minute. And then I'm going to say then group by when it was received. So the received date, and I'm going to say descending on newest to oldest. So I think that will be what I want. And I'll hit OK. So it's received descending. The filter, you could filter out stuff, you could filter in stuff. You could make a view saying show only stuff from Terry, and only Terry stuff would show up. Let's see here, conditional formatting you can do, field columns. I'm just going to hit OK, and we're going to save that view, and I'm going to apply that view right now. And I don't actually want that reading pane on, so the reading pane, I'm going to turn that off, and you can see how that's listed. I don't want to see the message preview either, so I'm going to change that. And you can see how the purple category is there, and if I shrink that, oh, there's a yellow category. I've got some different colored items. So some of them don't have colors. There's a long reason for that. But you can see how it's kind of grouping things together. And you can play around with your views this way. You can actually go back to a single line view, go back to our compact view that we had. We're going to leave it on that one. And you could reset a view if you've messed it up altogether. So feel free to do that as well. You can say show as conversations. Now, show as conversations is kind of neat because if I click that, what happens is it kind of groups things together. So you'll see this Tim Petrosky Microsoft Exchange. This is us talking to, this is this conversation of this lesson right here. It groups them all together because they're all related. That's actually a nice little view, except that if this was 2 months ago and this is today, they'll group them all under one conversation. But I do know a lot of people like that type of view. I'm going to undo that. You can customize that setting there. This message preview lets you turn off how many lines of the message you want to preview. I am a no line kind of guy, so we're going to turn that off. Again, awesome type of little flags and quick type of items that you can do and look for. You can sort, add columns, and expand columns this way. The folder pane, if you turn that minimized, you'll see how that gets small. You can turn it off entirely, but we're going to leave that on normal. The reading pane, we can turn it to the right, we can turn it to the bottom, or we can turn it off. There's some options. The to-do bar, you can turn on to the right. You can tell it what to show, or we can turn it off. Reminders windows you can pop up so that if you don't dismiss stuff but you hide the window, you can pop it back out again. And a way to close all items and organize some of your stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to File. I'm going to go to Manage Rules and Alerts and show you how we're going to do a final rule here. And I'm going to make a new rule. I'm going to say move messages when they're from someone. And we're going to say next. From people or groups, and you can actually click on this link right here. And I'm going to say myself, just as a test. And this is me. When they're from me, I'm going to move them to a specified folder. Now I can go next and move it to the folder, and you can click here or you can click here to specify it. And we're going to click that Archdiocese folder, or did we make a, we made a folder under inbox called Holy Family. We're going to move that there. I'll hit OK, and you'll see how it fills that out. Stop processing more rules. Now, if there's something that's going to happen in another rule under it, like for example, if it's from Tim and it goes in that folder, make it category red, I might not want to stop processing more rules. So I'm going to take that off. You'll see it disappears from here. We'll go next. I can have exceptions, except if the subject contains the word Beetlejuice. And I'll add that. And we'll go next. Give this a rule, sample rule. Run the rule now on messages in inbox. No, I don't think I'm going to do that. And for the sake of argument, I'm just not going to turn on the rule because I don't really want it to do that. I just wanted to show you a rule. So this sample rule will now take any inbound emails from Tim Petrosky, move them to the Holy Family folder, and only not do that if it has the word Beetlejuice in it. And I'll hit OK. And again, you can build multiple rules for all different types of things. That pretty much concludes going through the email portion of this lesson. So on we go to our next section, which is calendar. Now this one's a little shorter section. A calendar basically is what you expect it to be. It's a calendar of events, meetings, and appointments. So the main two types of items are appointments and meetings. So you have them up here. The difference being an appointment is something just for you, and a meeting is something you're inviting people to. An appointment that's 24 hours old becomes an event. So you can kind of see some things that'll pop up, say, event. And it'll say upcoming event in a week. Say you have a notification for a week. And it's just an appointment that you made. Like, for example, I might put this on there and say, you know, vacation, and I'll put it on there as an appointment for a week. And it's an event until it's 24 hours out. Now, on the left side, you see a quick navigation of my last 2 months of calendars. I can move around this way. I can select different days here. Your views are up top here: day, work week, month. And you can say go to today in case you don't happen to have it selected, or you navigate off and down here to some date. You can also say go back to today. So this is nice little navigation and quick ways to views. And with anything else, there's custom views here. Nothing really to worry about in calendar, but it's nice to see that they have that. You can take an item and you can modify it here by double clicking. Let me go back to today and month mode. You can actually open a calendar from here or down here. And what I'll do is I'll open a calendar, a shared calendar, one that's given me rights to, and I don't remember the name of the person, so I'm going to do this. Happens to be my wife's calendar, and I'll open that. And as long as she shared it with me, I will get it, and I will get it side by side, which is kind of cool. So I'm seeing the shared calendars in this. I can actually group these calendars together if I have a lot of calendars open by selecting group, save as a new calendar group, and then giving it a name, my group. And down here, they'll group them together. So it's a lot easier if you have 10 calendars and you want to see 2 all the time. You can kind of hit these here. So I'm going to actually get rid of that group. And that does not delete the calendars. And I could actually delete this, and it doesn't delete the calendar either. So I'm going to turn that one off so we have one calendar showing. How you give a person permission to your calendars through this button. You give them permission, you add them here, you tell them what you want them to have access to. Typically, if you're going to add somebody, and let's just say I'm going to add this person, when I add them, they want to see free and busy time, means they can only tell whether you're free or busy. That is the default, so everybody can see you're free or busy. They can't see what you're doing. But if this person wants to be able to read what items I'm working on, I would want to make them a reviewer, which they can see full details. They can't edit anything. They can see the folder. They can delete nothing. I'm going to go ahead and cancel that. Some other things you can do here, you can email a calendar, and it'll take today's calendar or a specific amount of days and send it off in an email. You can share a calendar here, and that pretty much sends an invite to someone else about your sharing the calendar so they can see it. And publish online, we won't really get into that, but you can, if you have a web dev server, you can actually publish it online so it goes out somewhere. So we're going to make a new appointment here. Now, even though appointments don't have typically anybody involved but you can always use the scheduling assistant and add an attendee. They give you this option here, so you can actually use it to find out if somebody else has some busy time. You can invite attendees and stuff, but typically an appointment is really meant for you. So you would actually do it, and you would say vacation, and let's put us to Aruba, and I think a good long 3 weeks in Aruba or 2 weeks in Aruba would do. So I got a conflict here. So it does look at conflicting stuff. So if I push the scheduling assistant, I can start to look at where this might conflict with something else. So I've got some scheduled items on my calendar here already. You can see them in blue. And that's where the scheduling assistant is helpful for an appointment. Other things you can do, whoops, I want to go back to the appointment itself. You can put details in here, whatever you want to type in. You can include notes from other application attendees, show the time is busy, working elsewhere, tentative, or give it some other stuff. Give a reminder, and again, the default reminder is what you set up in your options. You can also make it reoccurring. We'll cover reoccurring here. We won't cover it again in meetings, which is if you cover reoccurrence, you can tell it when it starts, ends, the duration. So I can make this happen, starts, ends, it's 1 day long. It happens once a month. on the fourth Friday of every month I fly to Aruba. Oh, that'd be great. And you can tell it to end after 10 occurrences. I don't really want to do that. I'd really love to keep it at no end date, but I know it's going to end because the budget's going to run out in October. So you can kind of do that sort of thing, and we will save and close. And there is my vacation to Aruba. And if I go to the next month, there it is again. Sweet. I'm going to Aruba a lot. Now what you can do is if I right-click this or double-click it, I should say, to open it up, to edit it, it's going to ask me, do you want to just edit this one or the entire series? I want to say the entire series so that you could click reoccurrence and modify. Maybe one day wasn't enough. We needed 2 days. That would affect the entire environment. I'm going to delete this. And because I edited the whole series, you'll see it's deleted the whole series. So that's how you can actually use the reoccurrence piece of it. Making a meeting is very similar, except you've got a to, and it's going to generate an email and a subject, and the rest of the stuff works very similarly. If you invite people to it, let me put some people in here. Required, she's optional, he's optional, he's required, and I'll hit OK. I can go to my scheduling assistant and see how the time frame conflicts with their schedules. Now, I must not have rights to see their folders or the calendars because I'm not seeing their free and busy. So when this happens, I don't have rights to see them, and I must have not set that up for the demo. So we will just go back to the appointment. Again, this is just set up for you. If you've set up rooms in your online server system, they can click on rooms and search for a conference room or something like that and add to it, and it adds to the room schedule so that people know in that room has been taken and by whom. Your little pictures will show up here for the people you invited to, as if they've done any of that. So the rest of this is pretty much common sense, all the same stuff: high importance, low importance, categorization. That stuff all works the same stuff. Inserting is all the same as the email section. Formatting and review is all the same as far as you're generating this meeting. I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of this meeting because we're not going to save that, and we'll let that go. So this is the calendar section. It is a terrific place to work with multiple calendars and organize everything. All right, so we covered that. We're going to go on to your contact section, which is called People here, and I'm going to click on it. And this works very much similar to the others. You can tie it to a social network. It lists your contacts list and any other list that you happen to make. You can actually add in open shared contacts from another user if you navigate there. And you can pull them in from another user. And I can open, if I have permissions, this one I do not. I can ask them to give me permissions, and then they can approve it. So it works the same way, and they kind of tally up here on the left-hand side the same. You can group multiple lists together, like these ones. I can group together into 2 different groups. Add new items. This button, by the way, has been in all the screens. This one's where you can select making a new of anything from the screen, regardless of which one of these major categories you're working under. Your views are defined here. There's business card, there's V card, there's a list, there's phone, and you can customize these as well. In this particular view, if I were to open this guy, if you wanted to add a phone number, you could select here and add it. If I wanted to add a second email, I could add it here as well. So it only shows what's actually been filled out. The mail merge wizard is here if you're going to export or create a form letter or what have you, and you can use this as a source. You can forward a contact or share contacts. Forwarding would forward the V card. If you click share contacts, this kind of is just emailing it internally without the within your organization, and they're going to have access to that contacts. When you do a forward contact, you get to choose, do you want to send it as a business card, which I think is the default. Categorization, everything is the same. When it comes to this, the address book is also part of that, because this contacts list is available as one of the address books, and you can see it here, and we can see how For example, Aaron Brown would be in here under, well, let's try it. Aaron. Maybe he's not in there. Let's try Brown. And I'm not finding him. I'm not sure why, but we will leave that alone. Let me just go here and search all address lists. He's in my global. It's got to be in one of these. So, oh, I know why. Let me show you. So, well, before we get out of here, I'm going to show you, you can search different address books, and here's the tools, and you can do options, and here's where you can tell it, when sending email, check addresses in Start with Global Address Book, Start with Contacts, Custom, and you can reorder things. And you could have 10 lists in here if you wanted. I could hit Add, and I could add another list, whichever one I want. I could add a public folder if it's in there. On which one it needs to search, and I could omit ones. When opening the address book, show which address book list first, so you can choose that as well. I'm going to cancel all this. So from the folders menu, when we get down to folders here shortly, I'm going to show you how you can use public folders if you have public folders enabled to you to create shared lists as well. So the rest of this is pretty self-explanatory. I'm going to go through and skip over tasks, and tasks are to-do lists. These, by the way, when you create tasks, do appear in alerts and stuff like that. So these are all old ones, but they'll appear in alerts and such on your Outlook in your home as well. When you go to just the root of Outlook, and some of your pop-up alerts will show up here. Whereas notes, these might be notes like what I'm getting my wife for Christmas, and they don't necessarily pop up alerts for these type of things. They're just sticky notes. Folders is actually all of these items listed as a giant hierarchical folder list per account. So you can see my account here, all my folders, and it doesn't just show me email folders and all of those. It's actually showing me my contacts here, my journal, my notes. Journal's kind of what you've been up to and doing. My notes, RSS feeds, my outbox, deleted items, a couple different groups of contacts here. If I right-click one of these and I go to Properties, you see the Outlook address book page. The reason I couldn't find that user is they're not showing this contacts list as an email address. So I'm going to turn that on. And this one is 2. I want both of these on. These are my current address books for current or recently current contacts. And now when I search, I would find them. If I went to my, let's go back to people, and we'll go to our address book. We could have done it from there too. Now you'll see multiple address books here. And again, depending on the option I wanted to search, I could start with the global address book and let search through those automatically. But if most of my contacts happen to be in the Cisco Academy, I might want to list that one first. So, and then when you make open the address book, which one should show is here as well. So that's how you can show some additional things as contacts. You can do a lot of that in the folder. This is one of my favorite views because it shows everything. It doesn't try to be fancy and hide stuff from me. In addition, if you're using public folders, which we do, and you have a public folder, you make public folders can be emails, they can be calendars, and they can be contacts. So here is a small list. This is basically, let's see here, just actually one. I think we set this up as a demo. So it's a very small contact list, but you can right-click this if you're using public folders, and you can look here, and you can make this also an address book if you want it to search the public folders as well. Very commonly, if we're sharing contacts lists or calendars or email folders amongst all users, or a significant number of users, we don't share them off of one user's account. we make a public folder or something of that nature, and then we share it. So you can do that as well. The last thing I'm going to show you on the folder side, I think that's the rest of the stuff that we need. There are, if you go into some of this stuff, there is a ability to do some more functions, assign a task. Let me find somebody here, actually under contacts. Here, you'll see you can sometimes have it do more options. I'm not sure exactly why that's so limited, but we'll let that go. I'm going to go on to this last one, which is shortcuts. So shortcuts for things that you do all the time. If you've got a pretty big, beefy installation of Outlook and you've got a lot of stuff tied into it, you might want to add some shortcuts. So you can actually right-click here and say New Shortcut Group and group them together. You can say New Shortcut, and you could define from the folder view exactly what you want to add a shortcut to. Let's do the Holy Family one. And now I've got a shortcut to the Holy Family, and I can get right to it from there. So your most common things, people can build a whole custom list here for your shortcuts and use just that view, just that section to do everything that you want to do. Last thing I'm going to do is add in a small section here for administrative people. So if you're an end user and you're happy with what you've seen and it's helped you, you're good to go. For the administrators, from a troubleshooting perspective, there's a couple things I want you to know. And that is this status is very important, that you're connected. And the file menu on the main screen gives you the access to the account settings. The current account information shows up here, and you can add accounts right from here, or you can add accounts from here, or you can click account settings. And you can do a couple things here. We can add an account under here and view the accounts. We can configure Office to connect to social networks like Facebook and whatnot. You can give others to receive items and respond on your behalf. Now, this is different than giving someone permissions. Permissions to a folder allows you to get in and get out and do stuff to it. Delegate lets me send email as someone else, and when it received on the other end, it says email sent from Jane Doe on behalf of Tim Petrosky. So Jane has access and delegate access to my account so she can send emails on my behalf. Download address book is a way of refreshing the address book if you're missing stuff. So we're going to jump here into account settings. And this is the generic account settings. The email accounts will be listed here. You can change these. They typically look like this. I'm using cached exchange, which means I'm going to have copies of stuff on my computer, and I can choose how long I want to store those. Under the more settings, I have download shared public folders. I can also download public folder favorites if I want. This will talk about where the data file is if I click that, and it's an OST file, and you can compact it to save space. The security really shouldn't need to mess with this too much, but the connection is your AnyConnect. This is called Outlook Anywhere. And what this allows you to do, if you have this set up, is it enables Outlook to connect to Exchange through nothing more than HTTPS. So you have no special ports for Windows stuff. And this is how most Gmail, Google Mail, 365, they all work this way. Their settings might be slightly different, but for the most part, this has to be enabled, and something has to be entered here. And that should auto-configure when you add an account. When you go next, it's going to validate that, and you can add new accounts right from here. Now, when you're adding a new account, whether you do it from here or one of those other buttons, when you enter and you have an online service like Gmail, Google Mail, slash 365, if you put a name, that's how your account's going to appear. You put your email address and password in, it will go out to the internet and try to find the auto-discover, and the parameters will be passed to it. If you aren't with one of the bigger vendors or have a smaller place, you might have to go through a manual setup to add your new account, which will then ask you what type of account to set up. So things that use Exchange are things like Outlook. Things that use outlook.com or ActiveSync are things like iPhones and Samsung Droids and tablets and that sort. And POP and IMAP are pretty old protocols, but you can set those up as well. When you go next, you'll be asked for the parameters, which I'm not going to set up here. In addition, on this tab, you can see where the user's data file is being stored. Now, the OST is not the same as an offline PST file, and that means that this one's the automatically synchronized file. You can tie in RSS feeds, SharePoint list, internet calendars, published calendars, and your address book is listed here. If I hit change here, again, you can see the different address books here. You can remove an entire address book, which you probably don't want to do. The global is automatically included in here, so this is only showing the individual ones that were set up by the user. So I'm going to close that. One of the other things you can do from an administrative standpoint is have people archive their old mail. You go in people's email boxes, they got tons of folders, but you can do make a new Outlook data file, and this is going to make the data file, and I'm going to put this in my documents under Outlook files, and I'm going to call this we'll just call this Outlook data file 2015, okay? And you've got a couple of different ways of doing this. You can add it as a PST or leave it in the newer file system. So I'm going to leave it at this newer file system. I'll show you the file it creates. Now, this is going to be another, not an account, but another data file. I'm going to hit OK. And now you can see I have my account, but I have an extra data file, and it creates a delete it and a search. So what I want to do is create some folders under here. New folder, we'll call it inbox. And a new folder, sent items. And what you can do is, if you want a user to take some stuff offline, I recommend doing it by date. All right. If I open that folder, where's my documents? Outlook data files, you can see it's made a file here. If I look at properties of this file, this is in fact a PST file, and I know I told some of the trainees it was an OST file. It's a PST. It's an offline storage file. This one is not synchronized up to the server. It's only on this computer. So what I could do is create a file for 2015, go through all here and move all the inbox items, no matter what folder they're under, into here that are for the year 2015. And I can repeat that for all the sent items into sent items for 2015. Then I can close Outlook and back up that file, never getting any more 2015 files or emails. So I can take that file, back it up, know I have a permanent copy of everything I'm ever going to have in that file. And every time I close and open Outlook, I will have this file down here with a backup somewhere else, but it's not synchronizing with the server. So I can keep this account, which is probably limited to what your engineers or your administrative set, which is probably 10 or 15 gigs. I can keep it under that amount while still having access to as many historical files as I want. Now, in my case, I always keep the last year or two in here if they'll fit within my limits. And then I keep the last 2 years open down here. So I technically have 4 years of emails. Anything older than that, I do have a PST for, but I don't keep it open all the time. For example, let's say we didn't want to have this open anymore. If I was to close Outlook now and open it again, it will reappear here. If I right-click and close it, now it's still on my system. It's still in my documents. Where are you? There you are. But it's not open. So if that was a 10 gig file, for example, or 5 gig file of email, I'm not opening another 5 gig file. So that's something else to keep in mind that's important. Additionally, under the options section here, there's add-ins and Trust Center. Add-ins are things that snap in. For example, here's my antivirus. So if you're having a problem with antivirus and you think this is a problem with this item, you can actually change some of the options here. Here's an add-in options. There's nothing to display there. Let me go back to my options page, add-ins. You can actually see which items are currently disabled, and there are. And you can actually deal with some of these add-ins, either uninstalling them or changing them so that they don't run. One of the things about it is if you need to disable all of them because, or a majority of them because there's some option problem, you can launch Outlook with your Shift key held down to disable and start in kind of a safe mode. Additionally, the other thing you need to know about is the Trust Center. So if I go to Trust Center settings, you can see trusted publishers, privacy options. Obviously, we want to leave some of this stuff turned on. Email security, whether you're doing encryption, you're doing digital certificates, attachment handling, how you want to customize any of that, automatic downloading. Macro settings, whether you're going to allow them or not, you can disable macros here as well. And if there's going to be programmatic access allowed to the system. So these deal with some more heavier hitting types of issues. So that if you're going to do something custom or you want to allow something, you can actually modify it here. A lot of times there's some back level. If you're looking at Office 2013, there's some options in here to say allow this software to open an older version of the file. So from an administrative role, that's the last thing. One final note that I'll tag on the end here for anybody who's bothered to watch to the end. One of the beauties of this system is the ability to search. So the last thing I'm going to give you is some help doing searching. And we're going to click on the inbox here. And I want to show you the search bar here. You'll see it up here, search email box. And I can actually type anything I want in here. And because the index is already pre-built, I automatically get all my responses with that word. I can actually use keywords like from Suzanne, my wife, and her stuff comes up, and it's from her. I'm not getting the stuff to her. There's a whole bunch of keywords you can do, and I can switch that around to what I want. You can tell it to search the current mailbox, the current folder, subfolders, or all Outlook items, including calendar items and other things. So there's lots of kind of neat things that you can do. You can actually look at recent searches that you did and additional search tools. You can check your indexing status, which basically shows us whether the system is indexing all of our items so that it knows where every word is in every item. You can optionally check and uncheck different accounts. There's an advanced find here, so if you're not really good with remembering this is to or this was from, you can go here and it gives you the fields, and I'll say from Suzanne. It doesn't have to be a full name, it could just be the word, and I can say find now. I don't have to go here and look in the address book to search. I can just type what I want. And you can tell what type of document you're looking for, where you want it to look. You can say, all stuff. You can actually look at more choices here. You can say, look for specific categories. Only items that are unread or read. Only items with attachments or not. Say you're looking for an attachment. That's always a good one. Let's see here. Matching cases. And there's an advanced thing where you can actually technically search on every field. So if I say I want to search the mail field where the Outlook version was, and I'm not going to know what to type here, but 1, and I'll add that to the list. It creates a search here. I'm not going to find anything because I don't know the versions, but you get the idea. You can build these complex systems. So if I do, let me do field, all mail fields, the let's see here. How about the received date is, and there's a custom down here. Let's go on or after 1/1/2017, and I'll get all my items after that. So this is adding to the existing criteria under these two, which has the word Suzanne, more choices, and advanced, and you can see she doesn't send me a lot of email. So I'm starting to get a complex, but searching's fabulous. And actually, once you are good at searching, you will do less and less putting everything into little folders and organizing it. You'll kind of keep it all in an inbox, and you'll just use searching. And if you have, I'm going to open that other file, open, Outlook data file. I'm going to go find that Outlook data file in my documents, and you can see it's already there, the one we made. When that's open, that will be indexed as well when I'm searching. And when I'm searching, it will allow us to search that particular PST as well. So it's very helpful to be able to do that. So that is the end of the lesson for Outlook. One last note as we go: when you do close it, Outlook has a little icon here to show it's running. This icon will take somewhat, maybe up to 30 seconds later, to close and fully close Outlook. It does close the interface a lot faster. So when you're closing Outlook, close it, give it another 20 seconds and let it fully close before you reopen it or shut down your computer. So I hope this has been informative. Thanks for watching and enjoy your evening.